tumbled into the broad sinkhole. The road had given way after epic rains in June, double the average for the region. Then a bad situation got worse. A pickup truck literally drives over.
Oh my God, no! Another car! Another car!
New stretch of storms from Nebraska to Maine targeting 65 million people. At least a dozen tornadoes already deployed against Iowa yesterday with a kind of savage beauty. Bold lightning strikes in Wyoming from the clouds overhead to the city below.
Even the storm chaser who captured this twister admits he was caught off guard.
If I haven't been there and seen it with my own eyes, I would have thought that it would have been a fairly strange event just because the storms weren't expected to be that large.
In North Dakota, hail. While Utah and California could use more rain to battle blazes. Outside of San Francisco, more than 6,000 acres have already burned.
A super typhoon threatening to cause major damages heading for Japan this morning. A photo taken from space, take a look at this, reveals just how big Typhoon Naguri is. As Lucy Kraft reports, the giant storm is already thrashing an island chain.
Just look at the video, it says it all, slamming into Japan this morning. Typhoon Naguri is being called the region's most powerful storm in decades.
Normally bustling with beachgoers and golfers, Okinawa has been rendered a ghost town. Concrete signs and trees were toppled. Wooden homes collapsed. So far, one person has died and over a dozen injuries have been reported. Japan invests heavily in typhoon protection, but this one was off the charts.
It's a sight not often seen on the shores of Oahu. Fish by the thousands washing up on the south and west shores. Viewers alerted us of the small dead fish. Beachgoers we talked to say they've never seen such a phenomenon. We wanted to know how rare this is and what could have killed them.
The same type of fish and the same size dead on numerous beaches.
Very concerned, because it's an unusual type of occurrence. When I shared the picture with him this morning, he was expressing some concerns too, like, wow, what's going on?
But what are they doing washing up here, and why now?
Something is wrong.
Our top story tonight, to say this has been an unusual beginning to the summer would be an understatement.
That's right. Like so many residents, the National Weather Service is also amazed by the rainfall totals that have been recorded up to now. The July total so far is the 4th highest ever for the month, and there are still 23 days remaining.
Well, a mysterious fireball lit up the Melbourne sky late last night, sparking an awful lot of social media discussion. Here it is right here. Well, joining us now is Today Melbourne reporter Justine McKenzie.
It has been confirmed this morning that it was a meteor.
Right now, meteorologist Jill Sweat has been working on a story that suggests that our planet's magnetic field is weakening at an alarming rate.
We're going to be seeing a lot of changes to our electronics in the coming months and, well, actually years, as we see the magnetic field change just a little bit. This recent study that just came out from the European Space Agency, from one of their satellite systems, is suggesting that here in the northern hemisphere, western hemisphere rather, this blue shaded area, we are seeing a weakening in the magnetic field that's around the Earth. Also, some big impacts onto power grids as well as communication systems, as we could be seeing power grids shutting down, similar to what a blackout would be.
And visitors of Yellowstone National Park have been advised to keep off the roads. That's because the heat from a supervolcano beneath the Earth's surface is melting away the asphalt. Park officials have closed the 3-mile-long roadway known as Firehole Lake Drive and have asked visitors to park on the sides of the road. Park officials say it's basically turning the gravel into oatmeal.
2014 was one of the coldest winters on record for the United States. It seemed every week brought harsh, cold weather and snow, and then in January, the polar vortex hit, freezing over 70% of the Great Lakes. Now, in the middle of the summer, another polar vortex could be headed this way.
There's one huge thing that's happening right now. We're looking at sunspots. Look at this graphic. It's a little funky, so stay with me. Last time the polar vortex happened in January, we saw a huge spike in sunspots or solar activity. Look at it spiking again. In the summertime, shouldn't happen like that.
Tonight is the first of several supermoons this summer. Here's a look at the moon over the valley right now. How beautiful is that? The scientific term for the phenomenon is perigee moon. It makes the moon appear larger and brighter.
The supermoon lit up the skies in many places around the world. This one shows it rising over houses in Spain, while this was the view in Las Vegas as the moon was setting towards the western skies of Nevada.
Something else happened this weekend, of course, the supermoon. A lot of people out last night looking at it, and they saw a little extra something too. It looks like a meteor right in the path of that, the supermoon. There you can see it kind of moving off to the side. It almost looks like it splits in two before disintegrating. The American Meteor Society, by the way, reports that they received reports from Texas all the way to Florida.
Families from Florida to Pennsylvania heading into this weekend facing an obstacle course of fallen trees, floods, and roads covered in mud, all from the powerful storms that hit hard and fast.
Tonight, it's the country's heartland bracing for what we saw on the East Coast. Flooding rains, and in Virginia Beach, winds up to 70 miles an hour. Even a tornado, which lifted Travis Pesco's car off the ground.
It was like a spin cycle, everything in my car just flying around.
If that wasn't enough, a church steeple fell, just missing his car. Then there were the lightning strikes, 165,000 hits yesterday. And some close calls this week for people who thought they were safe. Watch this, outside Denver.
Here comes the hail, I think.
A man standing in his garage with the door open.
Lightning has killed a second person in 2 days, both in the same national park. It is the latest in a series of dangerous strikes, and that's not the only extreme weather we're seeing this weekend.
Electrical storms have gripped Colorado all week. On Friday, they turned deadly.
Have 2 people killed by lightning on 2 sequential days is extremely uncommon.
A Delaware County teenager was struck by one of the thousands of lightning strikes this evening. This happened on Ashland Avenue in Glen Olden.
Take a look at this video so you get a better understanding of what the conditions were like here this evening in Delaware County. In fact, we were out driving in this, and there were, as you can see, the skies in this area lit up with countless flashes of lightning.
Heavy rain and gale-force winds have swept across parts of Romania. Gusts of 100 kilometers an hour caused severe damage to homes and cars. Many families were left with no electricity. A yellow code alert for heavy rain has been issued for much of the weekend in the north of Romania.
On this Tuesday, July 15th, ferocious storms have been hammering parts of the country with drenching rain, flash floods, and powerful winds. Hit hard the nation's capital with lightning streaking the sky, hitting the dome of the Library of Congress right behind the U.S. Capitol. Overseas, Russia has also been seeing extreme weather. Beachgoers in Siberia, can you believe it? Siberia had to scramble for cover during a surprise hailstorm. The storm blew up suddenly in 100-degree weather, catching bathers completely unprepared. 2 deaths are blamed on this storm system.
And a growing mystery overseas, scientists are being sent to Siberia to figure out what caused this massive hole to open. It's 260 feet wide. Authorities have ruled out a meteor for now. Melted ice or a natural gas explosion are the leading theories.
That hole is 260 feet wide, and nobody knows exactly how deep that thing is. Look at that, just goes down and down and down and down, and it's a dark hole.
It's still a mystery as to what caused it. Even stranger, the area of Russia where the crater is said to have formed is ominously called the end of Earth.
Some incredible video this morning out of North Carolina where a meteor was seen flashing across the sky. A software developer captured this on his cell phone Thursday night while driving in Raleigh, and it was spotted across several states including Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey. And we see it right there off in the left-hand corner.
A state of emergency tonight in parts of Washington state where several wildfires continue burning out of control, including one that has prompted evacuations and already burned about 100 homes in its path.
This is a ghost town torn apart by the fiercest wildfire officials here have ever seen. Fire itself is only growing. Fueled by whipping winds, soaring temperatures, and bone-dry conditions, the so-called Carlton Complex fire started with lightning and overnight exploded from 28 square miles to nearly 300 square miles. 1,000 households were ordered to evacuate, including the entire town of Pateros. We know at least 100 homes burned Major highways into the area are still shut down. Thousands are without power and water. And Brian, this is just one of dozens of fires burning in the West right now.
This is a firestorm beyond human imagination, and we need more assets.
You see this from the University of North Dakota, parking lots and roads full of water, to what is now the largest wildfire in Washington state's history.
A dangerous dichotomy of record flames and record flooding across the nation. Durham, North Carolina, flooding in a flash. 3 inches of rain falling in just 3 hours. Abandoned cars drowning in the oppressive waters. In North Dakota, ferocious winds up to 80 miles per hour slicing across the state.
Beginning tonight with some rare and some strange activity around the Monterey Bay.
It's attracted the attention of marine biologists, the locals, and, well, even some lucky tourists.
First we saw like one, and then we saw a little farther on one, and then you go another 50 feet and it was a blanket of dead fish.
That blanket stretched for a quarter mile and was about 5 feet wide in some spots.
It looks like a factory that dumped all of its fish. Never seen anything like it.
After seeing the pictures of the dead fish, some people online speculated that the fish may have died because of radiation. We spoke with several experts who dismissed that idea.
This morning, a Florida neighborhood being very closely watched because a giant sinkhole is there right now. It actually forced families out of their homes.
Look at these pictures, folks. The sinkhole opened up Saturday evening in the Gulf Coast town of Spring Hill, just north of Tampa. It is already 120 feet wide and 30 feet deep. It has swallowed sidewalks, part of that front yard. Homeowners have never seen anything like this.
Out of nowhere, the earth just went straight up in the air. It exploded up in the air, straight up.
Can you imagine? That one home is closed. The occupants are not allowed back in. It's unsafe. Deputies have spent the night, last couple of nights, watching the sinkhole to make sure it doesn't affect any more homes.
Well, southern China is picking up the pieces after the worst storm the region has seen in 4 decades. Chinese state media says Typhoon Ramasun killed at least 33 people when it made landfall there late last week. Yet another typhoon which threatens the region.
Did you see that on your screen? Well, bugs may be to blame for a bad crash in western Wisconsin.
A 24-year-old woman lost control of her car on Highway 63.
Chances are you won't hear them, but you'll see them. Millions of mayflies emerged Sunday night from the Mississippi River. La Crosse, Wisconsin was covered. The bugs made their way onto buildings, lights, and everything in sight. The cloud of bugs was so massive, it actually got picked up on radar.
Not surprising. They're just such large numbers that you can see their bodies on radar.
The blanket of bugs posed a risk similar to snowy streets. Bridges were closed to keep drivers safe.
No, your eyes are not fooling you, and it's not a magic trick. The recent wet weather has turned this Mount Hope yard into a holding cell for the weekend's rain.
And it made it into a waterbed.
That's just wild. Well, there's another fish kill underway in southeast Texas. Tonight, the dead fish are in Moses Lake.
You certainly don't see this every day. Mark Raby shot this video of what he estimates to be millions of dead fish floating here on Moses Lake in Texas City. One longtime resident here says this is the largest fish kill on Moses Lake she's seen.
It was an act of nature that killed at least 2 people and injured 36 on Virginia's eastern shore.
More than 1,300 people were at the Cherrystone family campground when the storm hit, many of them children. Witnesses say the sky turned black and started dumping hail the size of golf balls. There was a tornado warning for the area, but some say they found out only seconds in advance. One man said he didn't even have time to close the door to his camper.
All of this on the heels of strong storms Wednesday night in the Northeast. Skies opening up over Yankee Stadium.
It is dangerous conditions now at Yankee Stadium.
And the severe thunderstorms are on again tonight.
Residents in eastern China woke up early this week to find the river that runs through their city had turned blood red.
The other night, folks smelled something strange, and then the Wenzhou River turned red, blood red, and nobody knows why.
The riverbanks are covered with garbage. For now, inspectors are taking water samples for closer analysis.
There have been more than 80 reports of severe weather stretching from the center of the country to the Ohio Valley to Florida.
Overnight, dangerous weather across the country. Lightning cracking the sky over Pennsylvania. Buckets of rain delaying a Pittsburgh music festival. More than 26,000 people in Kentucky left with only bolts of lightning to illuminate their homes after the power went out. And in Phoenix, lightning and dust storms whipping up the desert.
Rare tornado touching down near Boston. You see the aftermath there in the suburb of Revere this morning.
That's heading this way, isn't it?
Slicing across Colorado, swirling with dirt. 3 reported tornadoes just outside Denver.
A tornado has been sighted at the airport. Take shelter immediately.
People inside Denver's airport running for cover. In Nevada, water became the enemy. Flash flooding dropping more than 2 inches per hour in spots, filling the streets with debris and black mud from a burn scar. Just outside Boston, Massachusetts, a powerful EF2 tornado, winds up to 120 miles per hour.
Oh my God, look at those trees.
This, the view outside Revere High School.
They all broke! Look at the trees! They all broke!
Flipping cars, littering streets with chunks of buildings.
It was just unbelievable, like in Massachusetts, this happening.
It is the first tornado ever confirmed in that county.
And now we take you to the startling lightning strike out west, right on the beach in Southern California.
It sounded like a sonic boom.
A rare lightning storm hit Venice Beach Sunday, killing 1 man and injuring more than a dozen others.
There was a big flash of light.
Beachgoers said this kind of weather never happens here.
I haven't ever seen in LA something that close. It literally knocked me off my chair.
At least 3 lightning strikes jolting Catalina Island, setting off a wildfire, knocking out power, and leaving 1 golfer injured.
New at 6, dead fish by the thousands, and as of right now, there is no cause. You can see some of the fish from this video.
Dead carp have been washing ashore for 2 weeks. The fish are washing up in the Horicon Marsh, Lake Sinisippi, and the Rock River.
They're sick. They're obviously infected with something.
If you're in an area where dead fish are accumulating, it might be best just to stay out of the water.
Jeremy Fletcher uses his phone to take pictures of the countryside, even in his lunch hour. But it was while he was taking an evening stroll on the seashore at Snettisham in Norfolk that he noticed a godlike figure staring back at him from the